The air buzzed with excitement in Rome, a city that hadn't seen such a crowd in ages. People from all over the world gathered, their hearts filled with hope and anticipation. The streets were alive with chatter, laughter, and even a few joyful tears. It was a day that would be remembered forever. Sunlight poured over St. Peter's Square where millions stood shoulder to shoulder, waiting for a historic moment. The golden rays bathed the crowd as if the heavens themselves acknowledged the significance of what was about to happen. The famous balcony stood in the center of attention, and the entire world held its breath, eager to witness the first words of the new pope. Then, the moment arrived. Out stepped Pope Tagle, the first Asian pope in history. His presence was calm yet powerful, his smile radiating warmth and understanding. The crowd erupted in cheers, their emotions overflowing. Here was a leader who embodied hope, renewal, and a fresh start for the Catholic Church. His eyes reflected the wisdom gained through a lifetime of challenges and faith. As he waved to the people below, a wave of emotions swept through the crowd. This was more than a religious event. It was a turning point. The Church was at a crossroads, and Pope Tagle was here to lead the way into a new era. His voice, steady and filled with conviction, echoed through the square. He spoke of love and kindness, urging the Church to be a place where everyone is welcomed, where no one feels abandoned. His words weren't just for Catholics, they were for the world. He called for unity, for a church that reaches out to those who feel lost or forgotten. The crowd listened in awe. Every sentence felt like a promise of change, of inclusivity, of justice. He didn't shy away from the difficult issues that had long plagued the Church. With courage, he addressed the past, acknowledging the mistakes and failures, especially regarding abuse scandals that had shaken the faith of many. But he didn't stop at apologies. He called for action, for real reform, for a commitment to justice. His voice carried the pain of the victims, their cries for accountability, and their hopes for a better future. The energy in the square shifted. People were no longer just witnessing a speech, they were part of a movement. Pope Tagle's words were a call to action, urging the Church to embrace the forgotten, to stand up for the poor, and to become a force for true change in the world. He spoke passionately about fairness, condemning greed and systems that widen the gap between the rich and the poor. His words rang like thunder, challenging the Church to not only preach love but to live it. He urged everyone to see the Church not as a building, but as a family that must fight for justice and equality. Pope Tagle's speech was deeply personal. He wasn't just speaking as the leader of the Catholic Church. He was speaking as someone who had seen hardship firsthand. Coming from a humble background in the Philippines, he had witnessed poverty and struggle up close. His words carried weight because he knew what it meant to suffer, to fight for fairness, to believe in something greater than oneself. His message sparked hope, but it also stirred controversy. Not everyone welcomed his boldness. Some within the Church resisted change, preferring to keep things as they were, but Pope Tagle was clear. This was a new chapter, and the Church had to evolve. He called for an open and inclusive faith, one that embraced diversity, welcomed all people regardless of their backgrounds, and actively worked towards a fairer world. The road ahead would not be easy. Resistance would come, challenges would arise, but Pope Tagle was ready. He urged everyone to work together, to put aside differences, and to unite in the mission of building a church that truly reflected the teachings of Christ. His speech was more than words. It was a declaration of a new era. A church that would stand with the oppressed, speak for the voiceless, and bring light to the darkest corners of the world. His vision wasn't just about reform. It was about transformation. As the speech ended, the crowd erupted in applause, some with tears in their eyes, others with a renewed sense of faith. This was the beginning of something extraordinary. Pope Tagle had not only delivered a speech, he had ignited a revolution of love, justice, and hope. The world was watching, waiting to see what would come next. But one thing was certain. Pope Tagle's most daring speech would never be forgotten.